guys, Kalila here, and welcome to another video. Today is a crime and crochet video where I crochet while I tell a crime story. This is episode 2. I did one before. If you want to check that out, I'll leave the tag in one of these corners here so you can click that, watch that. You don't have to watch them in order. None of these episodes are in order because they're just not. I'm going to be working on a cardigan that I actually left as a whip for so long. I started it like 2 months ago probably, and I'm just now finishing it up. So this is what it looks like. I use the even moss stitch for my crocheters out there. You understand, for the non-crocheters who happen to stumble upon this, hi, I crochet. And this is what I made. Warning for this video. I'm always gonna put a warning. It's nothing crazy. I don't think anything crazy happens in this story, but just in case, it's a crime story. Expect heinous detailing, craziness, death, everything, okay? Like anything horrible you could think of, just expect that in a crime story. And yeah, so this is your warning. Beware. Also, if you see me looking down a lot, which I will be doing in most of this video, it's because I'm working on this and I can't crochet without looking. So I'm going to be looking down here a lot, but I'll try to, you know, tell the story while looking at you guys sometimes, maybe. All right, so expect that. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this story and I'm going to start it right now. So this story takes place in Los Angeles, California in 2009. So pretty long time ago, okay? In 2009, I was what, 9, 10, 11. I was like 11 for most of the year, and I turned 12 later that year. So 2009 in Los Angeles. A singer, rocker, punk god artist is having a concert, and you know, it's wild and crazy like a concert is, except like it's different because he presents himself as a vampire. Like his persona is like a vampire, and like all of his followers are like, you know, gothic, I guess you can say, punk, you know, all black. He has like white painted face, dark makeup around his eyes, like his hair is like gelled and slicked back sort of. It's long, of course, you know, going with that vampire type of look. I think he also has fangs, so he was doing his thing with this vampire thing, okay? Dante, the singer artist, he finishes his set and he leaves the stage immediately. And his manager, Ray, his name is Ray, he's just trailing after him. And people are congratulating Dante, like, you know, great job on the concert. It was great, yada, yada. He's just ignoring everybody. He's going through, like, the backstage area. You know, every artist has this immediate access to like a backstage area. So Dante is going through there and there are a bunch of girls like screaming his name. I guess they're just like a select few, and you know, the groupies. They were back there going crazy like Dante, but he's just ignoring literally everybody. He just wants to go to his room and just stay there, okay? He has had enough of this concert life for now. When he finally gets to his dressing room, he just slams the door in his manager's face and he just starts drinking and drinking, throwing the bottle against his mirror. The mirror shatters and he's just like unhinged, to say the least. And I feel like that's typical for artists because like it's so stressful. Just performing, like being a performer, having this persona and just like living up to that until you just can't really take it anymore. But, you know, that's how they make money. So do they really have a choice? Yes, but like they have obligations, you know? Now around this time, after the concert, there are 3 people like walking away from the concert. Like the concert finished and they were just leaving the concert. 2 girls, 1 guy, and the guy's name was Ed. The girls' names were Gina and Tara. So they're all walking away, going home from the concert. It's dark, it's nighttime, but you know, the girls are just like ecstatic. They're like, oh my gosh, we just saw Dante. He was looking at me. Oh my God. We made eye contact. We made a connection. You guys know. Okay, so I was a directioner, still directioner, forever directioner. Okay, for the directioners out there, remember when everyone who went to the concerts, they'd be like, oh my gosh, Niall looked at me. Liam made eye contact with me. And it's like, girl, out of the thousands and millions of people, you think he just like suddenly, oh my gosh, that girl looks kind of hot. Let me look at her. No. Okay, no. That's just not how it goes. Let me tell you, it's not. Have I been to a concert? No. But do I know? Yes, I do. But they were dressed in like this gothic type, like, you know, those nice, those poofy, you know, those poofy black dresses that look like maid outfits, but they're not maid outfits. Yeah, that's kind of what they were wearing. My hook just dropped. But that's what they were wearing, and they were just all out, like, I don't want to keep saying goth, but that's just how it was, like punkish, gothic, dark makeup, dark hair. Well, some had dark hair. Tara had like beach blonde hair, but it was like locked. Oh my gosh. My cat is meowing. Be right back. The guy, Ed, who was with Gina and Tara walking home with them, he wanted to walk them all the way home because it was dark and he's like, you know, it'll be safer. Or he just wanted to spend more time with them, let's be honest. After a concert, what do people do? They hang out with each other, go to eat somewhere. Well, I don't know how concerts were in 2009, but I assume they're the same as now. But the girls just brushed him off. They're like, it's not necessary. Like, we literally live on the same block. Tara and Gina lived on the same block. So they're like, we really don't need you because we're not even going to be separated until we get home. And so they just brushed him off, and I don't know if he took it badly, but, you know, some guys would take it badly because they're like, come on, bro, like, I want to hang out with you. But either way, the girls just declined, and they went their separate ways. They parted with Ed, and Tara and Gina went home, and they were together until they went home. So they separated when they went home and went to their respective houses. Now, Tara, when she went home, she just started getting comfortable, as one does when they get home. And she took off her gloves. She was taking off her shoes. So after she's taken off all this stuff, there's a knock at the door. And she looks past the curtain because her door has a window on it. And she has a curtain that is covering the window, which is so weird to me. Like, why would a door have like that on it? That's weird. Like, everyone could just see inside your house. But anyway, she seems to recognize the person, and she opens the door, and immediately whoever was behind the door just like reaches out and just starts to choke her. Like, yeah, I know, all of a sudden it got crazy. Okay, she starts being choked. The person's just choking her. And since Tara lives alone, there's literally no one there who could hear her like crying out if she could, because the person's hands are around her throat. So she can't really do much. And they wrestle her to the ground. They start banging her head against the floor repeatedly over and over while still choking her. And they keep doing that until she dies. That's scary. Okay, like, imagine you're just coming home from a concert, having fun, and some random person just decides, who am I gonna kill tonight? That's so weird. Oh, just a little side thingy. I know that a lot of stories, like crime stories that are told, we already know who the perpetrator is, the killer is, and like, it's told from their story, their background, and everything until what they did. That's not what's gonna happen, okay, with these stories. We're going to start with the killings and work our way to the murder, because I feel like that's more suspenseful, okay? You know, we're going to be some sleuths here, some detectives. We're going to do some detecting. That's what we're going to do. Back to the story. So Tara was 20 years old. That's so young. I'm 23, so I'm just like, oh my God, I was just there, okay? That's so young, 20 years old. And she was the third victim in 2 weeks, okay? That is not a long cooling off period. All of the bodies, so Tara's the third, so there were 2 other bodies found, and they were all found on the LA freeway, and they were found by commuters. And since they were found during the morning rush hour when everyone could literally stumble upon it, it was pretty obvious that the killer wasn't trying to hide the bodies. Like, whoever it was trying to have the bodies found as quickly as possible. There were no signs of sexual assault on any of the victims, and they were all fully clothed. And since the cooling down period was so short between these kills, the LAPD decided to immediately call the FBI, and they called the FBI profilers, so like the BAU, where they work up profiles and do their psychological magic. They called the profilers to potentially help catch the killer quicker than at the rate that they were going, because at this point they were just kind of stumped, let's be honest, because 3 random killings, all found very quickly, short cooling off period. Like, you need some big guys here as soon as possible, you know? As these behavioral analysts are going over the crime scene photos, they notice that all of the victims, like all of the bodies, are extremely pale. And one of the agents state that they were all severely hypovolemic, which just means there was a huge decrease in the volume of their blood or their blood plasma in their bodies. Tara, the most recent victim, the one who was walking home from the concert, she had less than a pint of blood left in her system. And for reference, humans have about 10 pints of blood in their bodies. So the girl was drained. Now, the 2 victims before Tara had a little more than 3 pints of blood left in their system. So they've determined that if exsanguination is the goal, exsanguination is just the act of draining blood from a body. If that is the goal, then the killer is becoming more and more proficient, which seems like this killer is not really going to stop anytime soon, because they're just getting better and better at killing and draining the bodies. Tara also had a message written on her arm, and she was the only one out of the victims to have a message written, so this was definitely different from the other killings. And the message said "the liar" or "the liar." Sometimes I say "the", sometimes I say "the". It's weird. But it said "the liar". And the agents are like, "The liar? Why not just liar or a liar?" It's specifically saying "the liar" as if Tara, like targeting Tara as if she did something, you know, like what did she do to be called the liar? It's so accusatory. Whatever she lied about, it didn't need to cost her life, obviously. But that's just their train of thought. All of the victims appear to have been strangled and then bled out through identical holes in their necks. And those said wound holes have saliva on them. They're all covered in saliva. All of the wounds. Just the wounds, not like the bodies, but the wounds on the throat, the holes, they were covered with saliva. And it was human saliva, as if someone licked the wounds after the bodies were bled out. As if someone drank their blood. Let's talk about blood drinkers, okay? Human blood consumption, or clinical vampirism, is known as Renfield's syndrome, which is named after the insect-eating character in Bram Stoker's novel Dracula. We all know Dracula, okay? It's usually accompanied by varying levels of schizophrenia and occasionally classical cannibalism if the condition evolves, which is crazy that something like this could evolve even more to something worse. Like, oh yeah, no, you know, drink human blood. But also, let's eat people now. Even with all this info, true cases are exceedingly rare. Like, it doesn't usually happen. Like, people don't usually just go around drinking human blood. Now, there's a huge subculture in Los Angeles of the red drinking undead, but they don't actually drink blood. They just dress up like vampires, gothic clothing, they maybe have fangs, put some blood around their mouths, and, you know, they're just vibing, pretending to be vampires, but they don't actually sit there and just drink human blood. The profilers, you know, the FBI agents, they believe that they should refer to this killer as a vampirist or vampirist instead of a vampire. And a vampirist is a person with a mental disorder which causes them to crave blood and just act similarly to a vampire. So yeah, that's a thing. This vampirist would definitely be attracted to that vampire subculture because of their worship of blood. But, you know, the regular people of the subculture do not drink blood. But this person would be the one to drink blood and be attracted to the subculture because of the blood and because they worship blood so much, as, you know, vampires do. Also, vampirists are coveters, and that means that they have almost certainly come in contact with the victim somehow, even if it's just from like a distance or just passing by, and they're likely to become obsessed. So this killer has definitely come in contact with the victims some way, somehow, even like probably without them knowing, because we brush up on people, well, not anymore, but you know, when we would go out, we would always, you know, say hey to people passing by, brush up on people on accident, like, oops, I'm sorry, you know, little interactions like that could cause this person to just become obsessed. Remember Dante from the beginning of the story, that singer, artist, performer guy? Well, he had a release party for his album that is coming out. So he's having a release party for his album that's coming out, but he doesn't want to go. His manager, Ray, is like, come on, man, you know, you gotta do this. Dante doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to like become that vampire character when he doesn't have to. And Ray's just like, dude, like, you gotta sell your records, okay? Like, this is what you signed up for, so you gotta do it. And Ray spots blood. Like, Ray is at Dante's place, and Ray is trying to get him out of bed and stuff. So this is all happening like in his bedroom and everything. And Ray spots blood on Dante's pillows, and he's like, dude, you good? Did something happen last night? Because you totally disappeared off the face of the planet after the concert. So like, what happened? And Dante's like, I don't remember. Like, he doesn't remember. He took some drugs, so, you know, that probably took away his mental state. Ray's just like, okay, you know, whatever. Let's just go. Let's just go to this release party so that, you know, you can get back to doing whatever you want to do. And meanwhile, the profilers are looking for a connection. I know, I just like hopped from one part of the story to the other, but like, this is all happening around the same time. So you'll see me jump from Dante, what Dante is doing, to what the profilers are doing. I promise everything is connected, okay? So bear with me. So meanwhile, the FBI profilers are looking for someone who could be connected to all of these victims, because when vampirists become obsessed, like, they're not just seeking random people, okay? So every single one of these victims have encountered this killer one way or another. If they could find a cross relationship between the victims, like all three victims, then they could possibly catch a break and figure out who this killer is. Or just unsub. Unsub just means unknown subject, so I'll switch between like killer, unsub, vampirist. So they're going through the lives of these victims, figuring out who their friends are, and just making note of everybody. And they find that Gina King, the one who walked home with Tara, Gina King has known Tara the longest. They had classes together, I'm assuming in college, and they're like, okay, maybe we can ask her some questions, see, like, did Tara come in contact with somebody? Like, do you know if there was someone who was just, like, obsessively stalking her or something? Anything that could point them in the direction of this guy, because they're assuming it's a male. What is that? They're assuming it's a male, because usually it's men doing this crazy stuff, okay? Y'all know. These serial killers. Who are they? Men. Exactly. Gina's just one of the friends. They gather more information on other people as well, and they're like, okay, we're gonna go question these people in the morning, because at this point it's nighttime and it's late, so they're just like, we'll do everything in the morning, see how that goes. So two of the other agents. So there are agents at the LAPD's office, the precinct, as like a, what do you call it? Where you like gather together, not a hub, like a home base, a base. I like that. Home base. They use that as like their home base, and that's where they gather. So a couple stayed behind to look into the friends of the victims. A couple went to Tara's home, which is the crime scene where, you know, she died. And they're going there to pick up some clues that maybe the officers overlooked, or they see things differently, okay? When you're a behavior analyst, you look for things that attribute to someone's behavior. So they're looking for behavioral things that regular police officers are not trained to look for. So when they look around Tara's home, they find this shrine. It's filled with posters, skulls, pictures of people, everything. And it's all dedicated to Dante. Remember Dante? The guy whose concert her and her friends went to? Yeah, that guy. There's a shrine just dedicated to him, and it was obsessive, okay? Very, very obsessive. But you know, nothing has really changed with obsession over people, over famous people now than it was like in 2009, so am I surprised that she has a shrine? No. Most people who are that obsessed, I keep dropping my hook. Most people who are that obsessed have shrines of their faves, okay? They also find her laptop, but it's locked. So they decide to send it to their technical analyst to hack into so that they can find out if there's any information on the laptop that could potentially help them with the investigation. Because, you know, everyone's dirty little secrets are on their laptops. Except mine. Mine is clean. I don't do anything but watch YouTube videos on my laptop and edit and stuff. So if police look through my laptop, they'll be like, all she does is watch Among Us videos. Yeah, basically. At this same time, like I said, I'm switching between Dante and the profilers, the FBI agents and officers, the law enforcement officers. There we go. I can say that for all of them. Meanwhile, Dante's at his release party, bored out of his mind. He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't care what he's saying to reporters. He doesn't care what they quote, anything. He's just like drinking and just wanting to leave. Okay. That's just how he's feeling right now. His manager, Ray, like is trying to hype him up, get him in a mood to like mingle, and Dante is just not having it. When Dante finally decides to just leave his party, he accidentally bumps into one of the waitresses who was carrying some drinks around, and she's like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so sorry. And he's like, that's my fault, okay, you know, not a problem. He asks her if she knows who he is, like, that sounds so conceited, but, you know, when you're famous, you just want to know if people actually know who you are. She's like, yeah, you're like that music guy, and like, this is your party, right? And he's like, yeah, that's me. This is my party. Which means she doesn't know who he is. She just came to get a check, and he just happens to be a maybe famous person with a party. That's it. Dante's like, yeah, this is my party, but I have a pocket full of something that can make us both happier. Yes, that's right. Drugs. How do drug addicts know who other drug addicts are? You know, like they've never met. That's a total stranger. He's just like, wanna do some drugs? She's like, for real? He's like, yeah, let's go, get out of here. It's to snort some cocaine or whatever. I don't know what drugs they did, but it's just appalling to me that other drug addicts know they can tell. It's like a sense. It's like, you do drugs, I do drugs. I know you do drugs because I do drugs. We have that drug radar. But yeah, all that aside, they disappear into the night, okay, to go do their drugs and go to Happy Land or whatever drugs do to you. Like I said before, this is all happening the night of the investigation because Tara was literally found that day. So this is one day so far, and it's nighttime during that day. And so Dante's having his release party. The investigators are over here trying to figure out who killed Tara the night before. So we have the profilers who are at the precinct. We have the profilers who are at Tara's house. And now we're going to have profilers who are at the morgue. They went to go meet with the ME to go look at the bodies. And to figure out what the ME found, of course. The ME means medical examiner, if some of you don't know. But if you watch crime shows and you watch crime YouTube stuff, then we know. The ME tells them that the saliva, remember what they found, that saliva was on wounds, human saliva. They hadn't ID'd the saliva yet, so the agents just told the ME to like send it to the FBI lab so that they could just rush it. And we could have it here tomorrow. As they're looking over the bodies, the ME tells them that those 2 holes were made by some sort of instrument, some sort of boring tool. Not like, oh my gosh, that's so boring, but like, something that bores holes and things, because the edges were very sharp and clean, and bite marks usually leave, like the tooth will leave jagged edges. So there's no way that it could have been a bite. It was actually a tool. So no vampires drinking blood, guys. So they figure that if those holes aren't bites, then whoever drained the blood from the victims must have licked the wounds afterwards. That's disgusting. Now, the next morning, another body is found. Another one. The dude literally just killed the night before. And now they found another body. It was found on the freeway, just like the other ones. So definitely the same guy, same MO. And she was found fairly quickly. Yes, the victim was another female. She was found very, very quickly. Now, at this point, the FBI profilers, they were working like all night, and they came up with a preliminary profile because this killer is working fast, so they need to work fast as well. Even though it's a preliminary profile, it could still help them enough to potentially catch this killer. One of the agents decides to go and question some of the friends of the victims, and she first decides to go to Gina's place, which is Tara's friend. Remember the one from the concert? Yeah, they decide to go, just one, the female agent is like, I'm gonna go to Gina's house, ask her some questions, see if she can give me some information on, anyone who could have done this to Tara, or anyone who could have just targeted her, been around them weirdly, etc. Just normal questions that you would ask witnesses and friends and stuff, While she's doing that, the rest of the team goes to the new crime scene. A highway crew found her, and they found that her body was barely cold, which means she hadn't even been there for like an hour. Or maybe she had been there like for an hour, but nothing more. So like, her body was very, very fresh. The words, "the liar," was written on her just like Tara. So now they know that that wasn't just Tara specific, because at first they were like, okay, maybe Tara did something and let's figure out what she could have done to anger the killer, I guess. But now they see that the words "the liar" is on this victim as well. So it's not just Tara specific. Because the killer has killed back to back now, because remember, this victim was killed last night, let's say, and then Tara was killed the night before. So literally consecutive days, back to back. So the FBI agents decide to give the preliminary profile that they created, to the police officers so that they could have at least a little something to go off of when searching for this killer or searching for the unsub. I'm going to be presenting this profile as if I am one of the profilers, okay? Okay, so it is as follows. We aren't looking for a vampire in the supernatural sense, only in the sense that this person has a strong desire or need for human blood. Now, fortunately, Vampiris displays several characteristics which will be helpful in finding him. He will have cut himself repeatedly. This is called auto-vampirism, which essentially means that he was his own first victim. It's the way that he first tasted human blood. Now, most vampirists are definitely self-conscious about this and will wear long sleeves to conceal the fact that they have been cutting themselves. Secondly, there will be a long history of animal abuse, starting from small things like insects and rodents, and then working his way up to larger animals like dogs and cats. Not cats. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a profiler. Even though this is a well-recognized component of the homicidal triad seen in other serial killers, it'll be more pronounced in a vampirist. There will, interestingly enough, not be any signs of torture as seen with other psychopathologies, and that's because for the vampirist, the killing isn't the point. It is just a means to an end to get blood. Look hard at your animal control section's records, and as far back as you can, they will probably have some record of this unsub as an adolescent. This guy also probably lives in a poorly kept home because he'll need a house for this. It takes a lot of time to drain a body completely of its blood, and uninterrupted time, so definitely a house. This unsub most likely lives with an elderly woman, so a grandmother, a mother, an aunt. This type of mental illness accompanied by schizophrenia dominates a family dynamic. It often leads to a broken home, and the woman usually ends up as the primary caregiver because the male will just run away. That's not what they said. They said the men generally leave. AKA, the men generally run away because they can't handle it. This type of disorder cannot be hidden for long, so there's definitely someone out there who knows that this unsub is very, very sick. End scene. I'm not a profiler anymore, okay? The profiler was saying all that stuff, so I was just relaying the information. So now, back to the story. So now they find out, after all of this, after they gave the profile and everything, they find out that the recent victim's name is Aaron Hickman. Aaron worked for a caterer at a party last night, the night before, and so since they were still cleaning up there at the party, the agents, like 2 agents and an officer, decide to go to that catering event to talk to the owner of the catering service, like what should be called? The lady in charge? Yeah, the person in charge, which is a lady. They leave to go talk to her about Aaron. The name of the lady in charge of the catering service, her name is Miss Masters. I couldn't find her first name, so Miss Masters is what we're gonna call her. Now, Miss Masters told the agents that Aaron worked for her until last night when she just suddenly walked out on her shift. Just disappeared. Like, she was here one minute and then she was gone the next minute. Miss Masters also tells them that Aaron had a drug problem, and while she's talking to them, one of the people cleaning up the area walks by with like a stack of CDs. Yes, CDs, okay? We listened to stuff on CDs back then, all right? I'm acting like I'm old. But 2009 was a long time ago, okay? I had my own little CD player and my little skinny headphones with those cheap, fluffy things on them. Like, literally, you take it off. You can place it on your ear and you can feel the inside of the headphone. So the guy's walking by with a stack of CDs, and one of the agents, like, happens to glance, and they're like, grabs onto the CDs, and they're like, hold up. So remember the 2 agents who went to Tara's place and saw the shrine? Well, yeah, she was part of the officers who were talking to Miss Masters, and she recognized the guy in the photo on the CD cover, and it was Dante. Remember Dante? Yes, that Dante. It was Dante. And the CD cover had the words, "The Liar," on it. Things are coming together, aren't they? Yes, they are. The Liar. The liar, what is that? If you don't remember, in the short time that I've been talking to you. Well, it's probably not short, it's probably pretty long, okay? I've been filming for like an hour now. But remember, the liar was written in blood on the victims' bodies. And now, a picture of Dante on an album cover with the words "The Liar" on it. Things are looking, smelling fishy. That's when the law enforcement officers realized that they need to talk to this Dante guy because he's the common denominator between all of these victims. How is he a common denominator? Well, let me tell you. Their technical analysts had informed them that all of these victims, minus the current one, Hickman. Hickman, who is that? Remember when Dante and the waitress went to go do some drugs? That's her. The dead one, Hickman. Yeah, same person. So, besides her, the previous 3 victims, they were all connected because they were all on this website that totally worshipped Dante. I'm barely crocheting because this story is getting crazy. Okay, let me just do a few stitches. But yeah, they were on this website, probably like Twitter, worshiping this guy. But you know, back then they had like forums and blogs and stuff. There are blogs now, but it was different back then. Like they had online shrines dedicated to him. They were totally obsessed with his music. And you know what they would be called right now? Twitter stands. Yep, that's right. They were blog forum stands, standing him on the online archaic system that they had back then. That is why he's the common denominator. They were worshiping this guy online, okay? Kind of like Harry Styles. Now, the analysts also found out for them that Dante's real name was Paul Davies. So they find his address, Paul Davies, aka Dante. I'm going to keep referring to him as Dante because, like, that's how we know him as this entire story. Paul Davies would just be confusing, okay? But Dante, they find his address and they decide to go ask him some questions because they're like, buddy, you are looking like the common denominator here. Like, what is going on? Okay, what is going on? Because all we're seeing is Dante, Dante, Dante. So the 3 of them, so it was the officer and 2 agents. They all go out to go question Dante. And as they're headed to his house and like pulling up, they see that he lives in this huge, I mean, come on. He's an LA star. He's a star in LA. Of course, his house is going to be huge, but this huge mansion, beautiful mansion. The officer's like, is the profile usually this off? Because Paul Davies, Dante, has this beautiful home, nice cars, clean lot, like everything is beautiful and nice and neat and clean. Unlike what the profile said, that the house would be dirty, trashy, not well kept. In Dante's driveway, there's this car that's like, doesn't belong. You know those things like, something doesn't belong here? Yeah, that car did not belong there around those luxurious cars, okay? A non-luxurious car next to a Lamborghini. Like, those 2 don't add up. So while 2 of the officers, well, 1 officer and 1 agent go to Dante's door, the other one stays behind and calls the technical analyst to run a check on the license plate of the car just to see, like, who it belongs to, why is it there? I mean, it's odd, you know? You have a bunch of luxury cars and then you have this beat up one in a corner of your driveway, like, what is that? Now, as they're going to the door, Dante actually, oh, you can't see me crocheting. Dante actually comes out of his house as they're walking up and he's like, hello? They're like, are you Dante? And he's like, no. And they're like, so you're not the singer? He's like, yeah, but like Dante's not my name. He's just a character I play. So he's Dante, but he's not Dante, you know? He wasn't in his usual garb. He was just in his normal clothes, normal face, everything. He didn't look like the vampire his character is, you know? He wasn't that. He was just Paul Davies. Anyway, the agent who stayed behind to call the technical analyst about the car comes up and is like, sir, we need you to come in. We need to ask you a few questions. The other agent and officer, they're like, what are you doing? Like, we didn't come here to, draw our guns and stuff. And she tells them that the analyst told her that the car that was in the driveway belonged to Aaron Hickman. Okay, Aaron Hickman, who is that? The waitress that Dante was with last night, that was killed, that was found that morning. Hello, that was her car. Yeah, that was crazy. So they take Dante in for questioning. He complied. He didn't resist or anything. He wasn't going crazy. He was just like, okay, take me to the precinct. He didn't say that. Just his body language was probably like, okay. And by the time they get there, they're like hordes of reporters and paparazzi out there just taking pictures, yelling, trying to ask questions, beating on a car like, Dante, is it true that you killed this woman? And Dante, is it true that... First of all, how'd they find out? It's LA. Are we surprised? No. But it had barely been 30 minutes since they got to Paul. And they didn't tell anybody else that they were going to go there. But it's LA. You can't hide. There are no secrets in LA, okay? Everyone was there taking pictures, reporters live, Dante. But eventually they get him into the precinct and into an interrogation room. Now they're watching him from behind a glass. When there's an interrogation room, there's usually a glass, but you can only see one way. If you're outside the interrogation room, you can see in, but if you're in the interrogation room, you can't see out. Yeah, it was like that. They were out there. He was in there. They were looking like something doesn't add up because they're comparing him to the profile that they created and they're like, it's not adding up. Regardless, they decide to send in the agent who recognized him on a CD, who was also at Tara's home, who found a shrine. Yeah, they decide to send her since she's the one who arrested him and brought him in for questioning. They decide to let her do the questioning. They believe if he's the unsub, he'll be ashamed of his disorder. And for her to tell him that, oh, I can't believe that you would do this. That someone like you could do this. They told her to also ask him for his autograph, just to confuse him, because things like this will confuse him. Asking for his autograph, accusing him of murdering people. If he's really schizophrenic and has this mental disorder, he will be confused, okay? So that is the route that they're deciding to go. So the agent goes in and she does exactly that, except it backfires. Not in a bad way, oh my gosh, it was horrible. It just didn't work. And it didn't go as they expected. He was totally aware. He's like, why are you asking me for my autograph? You're not a fan of mine. And he's like, you guys think I'm stupid? Hello, why am I here? What's going on? Totally lucid. And they're just like, he's not supposed to see through this. He's supposed to be confused. If he's really schizophrenic, if he really has these mental illnesses, he should be confused. He should not be able to see that they're tricking him, I guess, or confusing him. But yeah, he's just asking if he's suspected of something. Is he being accused of something? He doesn't even know why he's there. He is told, he's confused in that way. So the agent shows him these pictures of the victims' bodies and she's pointing out that, hello, your new album title is written on the bodies of these victims. Dante doesn't remember anything from the night before. Nothing of his night with Aaron Hickman, which is the recent victim, the waitress. He doesn't remember any of that. She also shows him that the victims were drained through holes in their necks. And she's like, are you a vampire? Imagine just asking somebody, are you a vampire? I would ask somebody that. I believe these things could be real. Okay, vampires? Hello? As long as they're not like Edward. They could be like Damon. He's like, that's just something I play on stage. I'm a vampire on stage, but not in real life. The agent's like, maybe some things got out of hand. Maybe took things too far. The classic interrogation techniques to get people to admit things. But Dante's just not having it. He's like, no, no. he's so adamant that he doesn't know anything and he doesn't remember anything, especially of the night before. So at this point, he asks for his manager. They're like, why? And he's like, because I want my manager to call me a lawyer. So at this point, he has lawyered up, and there is nothing you can do if someone lawyers up. Like, you can't keep questioning them. So they stop questioning him and they just go back to the drawing board. While they are, going back and re-evaluating everything, basically, because their prime suspect just lawyered up, one of the agents gets a call from, remember, this day is so long, but this is the same morning that Aaron Hickman was found, and it's the same morning where the one female agent went to go talk to Gina, Tara's friend. So many names. Remember Gina and Tara at the beginning of the story? They came from the concert. Tara's dead. Gina's the friend. She went to go ask her questions. She went to her house. She isn't there yet. Well, she's there now. She just got there to the house to ask her some questions, to figure out if she knows anything, if she could give them some clues. Okay? That's where we are in this story. So the agent, she calls up one of the other agents at the precinct, and he just tells her what's going on, and she tells him okay, cool, well, it's fine. I just got to Gina's house. I'll just ask her some questions, and then my nails keep getting stuck in my hair. And then I'll just come back to the precinct and we can, and help out with trying to figure out what they're going to do next. So while they're on the phone, the other agents were receiving phone calls, okay? They got a phone call from was it the medical examiner or someone else? Remember, the medical examiner sent the saliva sample to the FBI for a rushed order for the next day. Well, it's the next day. They got the DNA sample, and it turns out the saliva is from the DNA of a woman. Yep, the DNA sample that was found from the licked wound was from a woman. So while this is happening, the agent that arrived to Gina's house is now going and entering the property. Now, the property is disgusting. Nasty, okay? It is dirty. Stuff is thrown everywhere. And this is just the front yard, okay? The house is so old and stained and just broken down. It's surprising that someone lives there. The agent that went there, she's just knocking on the door, and Gina opens the door, and Gina's just like, stop it, my grandma's sleeping, you're gonna wake her up with your knocking, and she's just muttering and it's weird, okay? I don't know how to really describe this, but she was just muttering to herself and fidgety and just stop it, you're gonna wake my grandma up. And she was just so unhinged almost, and just muttering under her breath repeatedly to herself. And the agent is just trying to introduce herself hey, I'm from the FBI, and Gina is just boom, she disappeared. Goes into the house, leaves the door open. The agent follows her, trying to catch up with her. Gina's muttering something about needing to go to the backyard, something. The agent isn't really sure what's going on, because Gina's just, people will say acting crazy, but you can't really say acting crazy if someone is mentally ill or seemingly mentally ill, It's oh, she's acting crazy. It's well, don't equate craziness. Don't equate mental illness with craziness. I don't like when people do that. So, but this is how Gina was acting. But the agent is just following her, telling her she's with the FBI again, and hey, can I ask you some questions? And Gina's just boom, disappearing. Inside the house, a wreck. Horrible, disgusting. You know how those shows that show hoarders and how it's stacked with stuff? Yeah, that's what that house looked like. Newspapers, boxes, old chairs, anything you could think of. That's how that house was looking. But yeah, Gina's just long gone, so now the agent has to I want to say wade through, as if she's wading through trash, but she's just going through. It's like a maze, trying to figure out where the backyard is, where Gina's going. So she's following her, and that is what's happening. At the same time, back at the precinct, Dante is able to make a phone call to his manager with an agent nearby just to supervise the whole thing. And his manager is Ray. Remember Ray, the one who was trying to convince him to go to the party? Yeah, so he calls him, and before Dante could even speak, Ray's like, dude, your album's going through the charts. Dante's like, what are you talking about? He's like, your album? Your new album? Okay. You remember it released? Dante just does not care, okay? But Ray's just like, remember it released? It's flying off the shelves, and literal shelves because they had CDs back then, okay? So this is flying. And Dante's like, what? And Ray's just like, I told you I would fix it. Everything's gonna go back to normal. You can stop doing the drugs. Life's gonna be great. Like, okay, I fixed this for you. I fixed it. I told you I would. Dante's confused. Like, what are you talking about? And Dante tells him, like, hey, I'm at the police station with the FBI. Ray's just like, don't worry about it, buddy. Okay? Don't worry about it. He's like, there's nothing that could be tied to you. Nothing. Okay? Dante's like, what do you mean? What did you do? Hello? Ray's like, don't worry about it. The less you know, the better. Okay? I'm gonna go fix this. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna fix it. Click. Hangs up. What do you mean you're gonna fix this? What is this? What? The agent that was listening was like, what did he do? Dante's like, I don't know. He just said he's gonna fix this. And the agent's like, this? How does he know about this? Like, what is he gonna fix if he didn't ask you what needed to be fixed? That's weird, okay? He's like, I'm gonna fix this. I told you, everything's gonna be good. I'm gonna fix this. Dante didn't even tell him what this was. He could have been there for any reason. Of course, like, I thought about it. I was like, well, he could have just, like, seen the news, but, like, things had just got out there, so I don't know. He didn't ask any questions. He's just like, I'm gonna fix this. And I told you I'll fix it. So it's just like, what are you fixing? And how do you know what to fix if I didn't tell you what to fix? You know? Is that weird to anybody? It's a little suspicious to me. Just saying. Now at Gina's house, yes, we're back to Gina's house, okay? We love to bounce through point of views in this story. Point of views. But meanwhile at Gina's house, the agent has finally made it through the maze. She's like, Gina, hello, Gina. She finds Gina in the backyard, which is equally as messy as the house and the front yard. Let me note that, okay? Gina's just talking and mumbling to herself and like dumping ice into some, what do you call it? A cooler. She's dumping ice into a cooler and she's surrounded by tubs, like bottles, big bottles and containers of what looks like blood. And she's just stuffing them in the ice and just muttering to herself like, oh my gosh, okay, I need to. And like there are stains everywhere she's like at this work bench area that I guess she made. And there's like stains, like red stains, looks like blood and jugs of what looks like blood. She's just putting them on ice and muttering to herself over and over. And the agent is like, Gina? And like before she could even look even more, she gets knocked out from behind. Like someone comes up with a shovel and is just like, and just knocks her out. Can y'all guess who knocked her out? Just guess. It was Ray. It was Ray. Who is Ray? We just talked about Ray. We just talked to him through Dante. Ray, Dante's manager Ray, who said, I'm gonna fix this, Ray, without asking what he's gonna fix, Ray. Now at this point, the investigators were working the profile as if it was a female, a woman, because they were working it as if it was a man, because usually the default is to think that anything serial is going to be a man, because usually it's committed by a man, not a woman. But since they got the DNA sample and the DNA sample was of a woman, they had to rework the profile and they were trying to figure out like what would change in the profile if it was a woman. So now they're looking at all the women in the victims' lives. And they find Gina's emails to Dante, which Dante never got because it all went to Ray. Because Ray is Dante's manager, he manages all the fan mail, all the emails that Dante could get. He screens them, and I guess he sends him what he wants to send him. But Ray screened all of these emails. Gina's emails were crazy. The emails that she sent to Dante, not her crazy, just the emails were crazy. She was just calling him a god, her vampire god, and talking about how she would kill for him, and just so many other things that are just like, what? Yeah, so they're putting all of the puzzles together and realize that Gina fits this new profile that they created around a woman. She fits that profile. So now they're like, okay, we need to go. They head to the house where the agent is knocked out at, okay? Yeah, they head to that house. And at that house, Ray is telling Gina to kill the agent because the agent got knocked out. She's probably coming to at this point, but Ray and Gina are talking, totally distracted. Ray's like, hey, Gina, kill her. Gina's just like, oh my gosh, you told me that the last time was going to be the last time. And he's like, one more time, just kill her. One more person, okay? Just kill one more person. And Gina's just agitated and confused, and like, she just wants to go back to the tubs of blood, which I can guess now, it's blood. She wants to go back to her tubs of blood, and he's just like, just kill her, okay? Kill her for Dante. Then you can join him in the undead. And she's like, really? I can join him in undead? Just one more? And Ray's like, just one more, come on, kill her for Dante. While he's doing that, the agent already came to, and she drew her weapon, and she just totally takes control of the situation, hallelujah, because she was about to get drained of her blood, just like the other victims. But she was able to take control of the situation, and by that time, the other agents and officers arrived just in time, and they were able to arrest Gina. And Gina was just wild and agitated, and she was just like, the blood's gonna go bad, the blood's gonna go bad. Like, she just wanted her blood, okay? She was a vampirist, like total vampirist, wanted the blood for herself, and she was just talking about how the blood's gonna go bad. Ray, on the other hand, is just like, I didn't do anything. It wasn't me. I didn't do anything. It was Gina. She killed all of them. That's it. Like, he was just trying to toss all the blame onto Gina and away from him. But hello, the agents and officers already came to the conclusion that he was the one controlling Gina. He took advantage of Gina's mental illness and used her as his killing machine, basically. And that would be called like killer by proxy or something, like the murder by proxy or murder proxy, something like that, where you didn't actually do the killing, but you had someone else kill for you type of situation. Oh, I've been talking for so long. But yeah, he used Gina's mental illness to manipulate her into killing people so that he could raise the sales, S-A-L-E-S, sales, the album sales of Dante's new album. And it worked, because once the media and the world basically caught wind that Dante was connected to these killings, they started buying his stuff. That doesn't make sense to me, but you know what? All right. They started buying his stuff, and it was selling through the roof. So, like they said, any publicity is good publicity, because this dude was a suspect in a murder investigation, and everyone decided it was the best time to buy his album. And Dante was told of this, and he's just like, I just wanted to make music, and I don't know when that stopped being enough. And I know a lot of artists feel that way now when their label forces them to do things that they really don't care to do, but they have to do anyway because they signed a contract. And it's like, they just wanted to make music, but like everyone else around them are vultures, and they just want to mooch off all the success that this performer and this artist is having. So that's kind of what Ray was, a leech. He just wanted the album sales to go through so that he could make more money as well, So he wasn't really doing it for Dante, but he was doing it for Dante because he would benefit from it. But yeah, that's the story. The good thing is you won't ever have to worry about these vampirists or Ray or anything, because it's not a true story. It's a story from Criminal Minds season 5 episode 7. If you want to take a look at that episode, it's really good. I left out some things that just didn't need to be said, I guess, you know, like their interactions and stuff, but like for the most part, I think I knocked all the important things on the head. So who was the killer? It was Gina. Who was controlling Gina? It was Ray. So technically, who was the killer? Ray. I actually had a great time telling this story. It took me forever to write the script for it, but it was worth it, okay? If you guys want another crime and crochet video, be sure to comment down below. Oh, if you watch Criminal Minds, is there a specific story that you want me to tell from it? Like, is there a specific storyline or a specific episode you want me to tell from it? And yeah, my crime and crochets will most likely always be fictional stories because everybody else tells the real stories. They can have the real stories. I don't want them, okay? It's too real, okay? I don't want us to be scared at night, okay? I want us to listen to a story and be like, woo, that was not real. I don't have to worry about this serial killer coming after me, okay? But if you guys did enjoy, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you want to follow me on Instagram, here it is. I'll see you guys next time with another video. Bye.